President Obama rolling out his strategy for the fight in Afghanistan last night, while at the same time battling rising unemployment here in the United States. So where does Congress stand on all of this? Joining me from Capitol Hill, Democratic Congressman Robert Andrews of New Jersey and Republican Congressman Dan Burton of Indiana. Good morning, gentlemen. Great to see you both.
Good morning.
Let's start with the president's speech last night. A lot of mixed results here coming out of this speech. It appeared as though he politically spoke to the Republicans on the surge in troops and politically spoke to the Democrats on a withdrawal time horizon. Congressman Burton, can you do both, or are we giving al-Qaeda and Taliban our playbook?
I think that that's one of the mistakes the president made in his speech. I support most of what he said last night about going after al-Qaeda and the Taliban and making sure we keep them on the defensive and defeating them. But when you start talking about an extrication date, you tell them when you're going to plan on leaving, and I think that's a terrible mistake. You never telegraph your punches, and that's the one thing that I'm really concerned about.
Congressman Andrews?
I think what the president said was he would be guided by circumstances on the ground when he gets to 2011. I think he will be. And I do think it's important for the Afghans to know that although our commitment is sincere, it is not endless. And it's important for the Afghan government to start to take some more responsibility. So I have no problem with the 2011. I think it was the right thing. And I also do think the president's right in launching this offensive strike against the Taliban and al-Qaeda. I think it's necessary.
We know that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Secretary of Defense Gates, and Joint Admiral Mike Mullen, Joint Chiefs of Staff, are going to testify, talk to both the Senate and the House today. Congressman Burton, I'm not sure if you're going to be there. I'm aware that you are on the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
What do you need to hear them say in order for Congress to fully support this decision?
I think they need to say that they're going in there to win. I don't want to see American troops going into any battle unless there's a commitment to win. You're risking young American lives, and they deserve to know they're going to get every bit of support from the administration and the American people that's necessary for them to win. And that's why I'm very concerned about this date in July of 2011, saying that assuming things are all right on the ground, we're going to start withdrawing our troops. It just doesn't send the right signal. Now, had the president worded that differently and said we're going to fight to win and we're going to see what happens on the ground without a date, it might have been different. But I think he signaled to the enemy that we might start pulling out, and I think that's the wrong signal.
Congressman Andrews, the president alluded last night to the fact that the American people are as divided as ever, and now is the time to come together on this decision. Will members of Congress come together and support the president unilaterally?
I wouldn't say unilaterally, but I think there will be a consensus to support this decision. And 9/11 came from this part of the world. We have an obligation to avoid another one to the extent we can. And I think there will be a consensus behind this decision. Not everyone will support it, but in a democracy, everyone doesn't support things all the time. That's the way it's supposed to work. But I think there will be a consensus.
The issue here is cost. Congressman Andrews, where are we going to pay for this?
I think the best way to pay for this is as we wind down the spending in Iraq, that money would be shifted over to support this operation. Secondly, I think we can save a lot of money in the way we purchase major weapons systems. There's a lot of waste and delay. I would favor shifting those resources to fund this operation.
Congressman Burton, Congressman Obey has suggested that we need to perhaps consider a tax on those earning over $30,000 or more to pay for this war in Afghanistan. Will the American people support that?
My goodness, with 10.2% unemployment, with us being $2 or $3 trillion in the hole and digging deeper, it makes absolutely no sense to talk about any kind of a tax increase right now. I agree with my colleague. We ought to find ways to cut spending and to reduce our expenditures in other areas so we can concentrate on the things that are very important to the American people, and that's the war and jobs. We got to create an environment where we're going to create more jobs, and that means we should reduce taxes, not raise them.
Last question, gentlemen, jobs. There's an important job summit there tomorrow. We just saw the ADP private employment numbers. They're getting better, but not fast enough. What do we need to do about jobs? Congressman Andrews, let's start with you.
I think we have to find a way to get more credit for small businesses in the economy. I still hear from small businesses all the time that are credit worthy. They're not getting the loans that they should. I think we have to lean on the TARP banks to make those loans.
Congressman Burton.
Well, yeah, let me just say that I think that that's one of the solutions. I agree with that, but I also think that we need to follow the Reagan model. And the Reagan model was to cut taxes on business and industry and to cut taxes on individuals. You give more disposable income to individuals, they're going to buy more. You give more money to business by cutting taxes, they're going to start expanding their base, their investment in their businesses. And I think that's the way to go. It worked for Reagan and created about 20 years of economic expansion. I think we ought to try that again.
Perfect segue, Congressman Burton. I'm talking to the Assistant Labor Secretary during the Reagan administration, Alain Grissani, and he has that thought indeed, and that's something he'd like to see put to work. Gentlemen, great seeing you both this morning. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
right, the opening bell is set to ring in a little less than 8 minutes. We're going to go live to the New York Stock Exchange for a preview in just a moment. And later, coming up, first